There is a quiet moment that many people imagine but rarely talk about out loud. It is not the moment of winning a lottery or landing a huge contract. It is something far less dramatic and far more powerful. It is the moment when you wake up in the morning and money is no longer the first thought pressing against your mind. No sudden rush of anxiety, no mental checklist calculating bills before your feet even touch the floor. Just a calm, steady awareness that things are handled. For many, financial stress is like background noise. It hums quietly during conversations, during meals, during attempts to relax. It follows people into their dreams and greets them again before sunrise. So what happens when that noise fades? What changes when money stops being stress? At first, the change is almost invisible. It does not usually arrive with fireworks or dramatic announcements. Instead, it appears in subtle ways. You might notice it in how long you linger over morning coffee. You might see it in how conversations with loved ones feel lighter. There is often a shift in breathing itself, deeper and slower, as though the body finally realizes it does not need to stay in constant alert mode. Stress around money has a unique way of shaping how people see the world. It influences choices that go far beyond budgets or purchases. When financial pressure is heavy, it can narrow attention. People often focus only on immediate survival or short-term solutions. Decisions become reactive rather than thoughtful. Creativity sometimes shrinks under the weight of urgency. Relationships may feel strained, not because of lack of care, but because stress has a way of shortening patience and stretching emotions thin. When that pressure lifts, something remarkable happens. Mental space expands. Suddenly, people begin thinking differently about time, energy, and purpose. They begin asking questions that felt too risky or unrealistic before. Questions like, what do I truly enjoy? What kind of work makes me feel fulfilled rather than just stable? How do I want to spend time with the people I care about? It is important to acknowledge that money alone does not guarantee happiness or emotional well-being. Many researchers and financial psychologists suggest that once basic security and comfort are achieved, emotional satisfaction becomes influenced by many other factors. Relationships, sense of meaning, physical health, and community often take center stage. However, removing financial stress can unlock the ability to focus on those deeper areas of life. One of the most surprising changes often appears in how people approach risk. When money is tight, risk can feel terrifying. Even small decisions can carry enormous emotional weight. People may stay in jobs that drain them or avoid opportunities that might lead to growth simply because uncertainty feels dangerous. When financial stress fades, risk begins to transform. It does not disappear, but it becomes more manageable. People start exploring passions, learning new skills, or considering career changes that once felt impossible. They might invest time into creative projects or educational goals. They might pursue entrepreneurship or volunteer work, driven by curiosity instead of fear. Another profound shift happens in relationships. Financial stress has long been recognized as a common source of tension in families and partnerships. According to various relationship studies, disagreements about money can create deep emotional divides. When money stops being a constant worry, communication often changes. Conversations become less defensive and more collaborative. People tend to focus more on shared goals rather than survival strategies. There is also an unexpected change in generosity. When people feel secure, many report feeling more open to helping others. This does not always mean large financial gestures. Sometimes it appears as offering time, mentorship, or emotional support. Security can create emotional bandwidth, allowing individuals to look beyond their own immediate needs and engage with the world around them in meaningful ways. Yet, this transformation is not always simple or purely positive. Some individuals experience a surprising sense of uncertainty when financial stress disappears. For years, their identity may have been built around working tirelessly to maintain stability. Without that constant pressure, they may ask themselves unfamiliar questions about purpose and direction. Some reports suggest that sudden financial freedom can create emotional adjustment periods, where individuals must redefine their sense of achievement and motivation. This leads to a deeper conversation about how society often connects personal worth to productivity and income. When money stops being a stress factor, people sometimes realize how much of their identity was tied to financial struggle or professional output. Letting go of that identity can feel both liberating and unsettling. It can open the door to self-discovery, but it may also require emotional reflection and growth. There is also a shift in how people experience time. Financial stress tends to compress time, making life feel like a series of urgent deadlines. When financial stability is achieved, time often feels more flexible. People may rediscover hobbies, reconnect with friends, or simply allow themselves to rest without guilt. Rest, in particular, becomes a powerful and often underestimated change. Chronic financial worry can keep the nervous system in a prolonged state of tension. When that tension eases, many people notice improvements in sleep, concentration, and overall emotional resilience. And right around here is where many viewers might start wondering something deeper. If financial stress disappears, does that mean life becomes easy, or does it simply reveal a different set of challenges waiting beneath the surface? This is where the story becomes even more interesting. When money stops being stress, people often face choices that are less about survival and more about meaning. These choices can be surprisingly complex. Without financial pressure guiding every decision, individuals must decide what truly matters to them. Some pursue creative expression, some invest time in personal growth or spiritual exploration, others dedicate themselves to community building or social causes. Interestingly, research in behavioral economics suggests that humans are not always naturally comfortable with unlimited choice. When survival is the focus, decisions can feel straightforward. Remove that urgency, and life becomes a landscape filled with possibilities. While this can be exciting, it can also be overwhelming. People sometimes experience decision fatigue, not because they lack options, but because they suddenly have so many. Another noticeable change occurs in how people perceive material possessions. When money is a constant concern, purchases carry emotional weight. Items can represent security, success, or validation. Once financial stress fades, many individuals report a shift towards valuing experiences over possessions. Travel, learning opportunities, and shared moments with loved ones often become more meaningful than accumulating objects. There is also an evolving relationship with work itself. For some, work becomes a source of passion and contribution rather than necessity. For others, it becomes an opportunity to seek balance. This does not mean people stop working. In fact, many continue working with renewed enthusiasm. The difference lies in motivation. Instead of working solely to avoid financial hardship, individuals often work to express creativity, support a cause, or achieve personal mastery. Mental health professionals often discuss how chronic stress can influence emotional regulation. Financial anxiety can intensify feelings of fear, frustration, and hopelessness. When that anxiety is reduced, emotional stability often improves. People may find themselves responding to challenges with greater patience and clarity. Relationships benefit from this emotional shift as communication becomes more thoughtful and less reactive. However, it is important to recognize that financial stability does not eliminate life's uncertainties. Health challenges, personal loss, and global events can still impact emotional well-being. The difference is that financial security can provide a stronger foundation for navigating those challenges. It can offer access to resources, support systems, and recovery opportunities that might otherwise feel out of reach. Another subtle yet powerful transformation appears in long-term thinking. Financial stress often keeps attention locked on immediate needs. When stability is achieved, people frequently begin thinking about legacy. They consider the impact they want to leave behind, whether through family, creative contributions, or community involvement. This shift towards legacy thinking can inspire individuals to pursue goals that extend beyond personal gain. There is also an internal shift that is harder to measure but deeply significant. Self-worth begins to detach from financial fear. People start recognizing their value through relationships, personal growth, and contributions to others. This internal validation often leads to greater confidence and emotional independence. As the journey continues, many discover that financial freedom is less about wealth and more about choice. The ability to choose how time is spent, how energy is invested, and how life is experienced becomes the true reward. Choice allows people to align their daily actions with their personal values. It allows them to build routines that support well-being rather than just survival. Still, there is a final and deeply human realization that often emerges. Even when money stops being stress, happiness remains a dynamic and evolving experience. Security creates opportunity, but fulfillment requires intention. People must actively build lives that reflect their passions, relationships, and purpose. Financial stability can open the door, but walking through that door requires self-awareness and courage. And this brings us to a final reflection worth sitting with for a moment. Imagine a world where financial stress fades not only for individuals, but for communities. How might creativity expand? How might relationships deepen? How might societies change if more people had the freedom to pursue purpose rather than survival? While the answer may vary depending on culture, opportunity, and personal values, the question itself invites powerful reflection about the role money plays in shaping human experience. Perhaps the greatest change when money stops being stress is not what people gain, but what they rediscover. They rediscover curiosity. They rediscover patience. They rediscover the quiet joy of being present without calculating every decision through fear. They rediscover the ability to dream without immediately questioning whether those. Perhaps the greatest change when money stops being stress is not what people gain, but what they rediscover. They rediscover curiosity. They rediscover patience. They rediscover the quiet joy of being present without calculating every decision through fear. They rediscover the ability to dream without immediately questioning whether those dreams are safe or practical. And maybe, just maybe, they rediscover themselves. If this conversation sparked new thoughts or gave you a different perspective, take a moment to show your support by liking this video. If you enjoy exploring deeper life topics and thoughtful storytelling, subscribing helps you stay connected to future discussions like this one. And most importantly, share your perspective in the comments. What do you believe would change in your life if money stopped being stress? Your experiences and ideas might inspire someone else who is still navigating that journey.